Hey guys, welcome back to our weekly Mailbag video series. As always, I'm your host, John Rivera, lead reviewer for the site as well as host of the ROMcast. Welcome back. Welcome to the year of 2015. It's January 5th, and I've picked up quite a few things for a bunch of systems. But first, I just want to turn your all's attention to our main website right here, the Solid State Gamer. Stuff that's been recently going down. Obviously, we had our end of the year B-roll edition of the ROMcast. So if you guys haven't checked it out, be sure to give it a look, and you might find it remotely entertaining. I know that Matt and I had a lot of fun patching all that stuff together and into the ROMcast. Also, we have a quick look series installment, and this time around it is Shadow Squadron. As you guys can see, sorry about that. As you guys can see, I have the sound test screen for Shadow Squadron booted up right now, and man, what a game! This game has actually made me like push off my Resident Evil 6 review. And I'll be finishing off the Resident Evil 6 review after I'm done reviewing Shadow Squadron. I mean, it's just a game that captured my attention and did not let go. It still hasn't let go. And if you guys want to understand why, definitely check out the Quick Look series video on Shadow Squadron. It's a bit longer than usual. I believe it's 40 some odd minutes, but it's worth it. I mean, it's just a great looking game. It's a classic gem. It's an underrated, overlooked Sega 32X game. And who knows? Checking it out, you might kind of rethink how you feel about the 32X. But anyway, also our newest addition to the Solid State Gamer team, Nathan Van Dyke, he has published his first news story on here, talking about the latest character to be added to the Tekken roster for the latest in the series, and he is a Saudi Arabian character known as Shaheen, and he looks pretty awesome. Just these preliminary drawings and stuff, he looks pretty cool, so I would say check that out as well. But without further ado, let's talk about the games that I picked up recently. So I don't know how I want to tackle this. Let's just knock out from old to new. Okay, so I picked up 3 Super Nintendo games. This one is Vortex, and this is a Super Effects game made by Electro Brain, and I guess that's just like the internal team at, the Argonaut Software. But yeah, there's that. A lot of good memories on that game. Actually, it was one of the first video games to use Dolby Digital surround sound for a game. Another game made by Electro Brain. This game has a very Euro feel. It's called Gym Power in the Lost Dimension 3D. And cool thing about this particular sort of game is that it's a run and gun platformer, but it has some interesting parallax layer effects with the 2D backgrounds, to the point where you can actually wear a pair of sunglasses with just the one lens covering one eye, and there actually is sort of like a 3D effect. So that's pretty cool. So I've never really played this game. I do know that it is unabashedly European, so for whatever that means. We have also Race Driving by THQ for the Super Nintendo. This is part of the Drivin series, which also includes games like Hard Drivin for the Sega Genesis, as well as I think there was a prototype of it made for the NES, but I don't think it ever got to the point where it was slated for release. But yeah, here's Race Driving. It's a fully 3D polygonal racing game, and just wanted to play this for review to see how it stacks up. A lot of these early entries have really low frame rates that are inconsistent, and some like Z ordering issues up the wall. But who knows? It might be a good game. Alright, so let's move on to the N64. I picked up a couple of good games. This one, WinBack, Covert Operations. This is a third-person behind-the-back, cover-based third-person shooter. Now, what's so special about that, you ask? Well, this is one of the first of its kind. It is the first game that kind of used the same sort of mechanical conceit that has later been synonymous with games like Gears of War, or like, what's the other game? Vanquish. So this game was pretty much, not only is it the great-great-granddaddy to all those games, it's the great-granddaddy to Brute Force, which is another third-person shooter for the Xbox. So this is pretty much the game that started it all. And I know when it came out, it was critically panned by reviewers. So I'm actually going to take a look at it and try to put it in the proper context. And who knows? I personally remember liking it as a kid. Then we've got Resident Evil 2 for the N64. Not the best port of the game, but it's Resident Evil. I love the Resident Evil games, sans 6 and 5. 4 is okay, but my heart belongs to the original games that used character relative movement and had the security camera sort of layout. Those are the games that really make me think about the series as a whole. And Resident Evil 2 is my favorite one. I know a lot of people might be saying that, Code Veronica is another good game. It is. I love Code Veronica, but 2 was, for the time, and for all times, one of the finest experiences that the series has ever birthed. And I'll say that till the day I die. And so with that, I've already got the PlayStation version of Resident Evil 2, and I believe I have the Dreamcast version of it, which looks a little sharper. But this game is interesting because this game actually is housed on a 500 megabyte cartridge, and it's really not. It's not a game that should have been possible on the N64, but here it is. So we'll see about that. On to PlayStation. You guys might be wondering why I have 2 copies of this game. First of all, it's called Evil Zone for the Sony PlayStation. And it is a very unabashedly Japanese anime-style fighting game that I would venture the statement that it was pretty much Dragon Ball Z Budokai or Tenkaichi before there was a Budokai or Tenkaichi. It's a very simplistic fighting game that still has a very robust combat system, but it's only confined to the triangle button. But it's all about the timing in which you unleash your attacks that pretty much dictates what kind of attack you're going to use. And this is actually a Titus joint. Titus was the company that released this, and I think one of the reasons why this game was critically panned back in the day was because a lot of reviewers had a bad taste in their mouths when it came to Titus Interactive, because they had released 2 of the worst video games of all time. They had released Carmageddon 64 and Superman 64. And from what I understand, this game came out around that time. This game came out in 1999, I guess after Carmageddon 64 and Superman 64 had hit shelves. And reviewers had no love for that company. It probably affected how they reviewed the game. Also, you have to understand that there's no unlockable characters in this game, but it still has a pretty nice lineup of characters that are all based on very Japanime stereotypical tropes. You got a Power Ranger guy right here, the rocker, the butch girl female fighter, the schoolgirl, the meathead. It's pretty hilarious stuff. And the game is framed in the single player mode after it's modeled after a Japanese anime series. It's like, oh, this time on Evil Zone, blah, 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 so-and-so, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, what will happen next? Find out on the next episode of Evil Zone. It's literally framed like that. So this game has a charm and a character to it. And why did I get 2 copies? Well, I thought that I bought an incomplete copy because of this right here. There's no ridge texture on here. Usually that's characteristic of PlayStation games, but what I found out is that Titus, when they were publishing the game, they goofed on the printing. So usually PlayStation games, let me pull out another example, which is another game that I acquired, Critical Depth, made by Single Track, David Jaffe fame. From the developers who know vehicular combat comes Critical Depth. You see on this one there are ridges. Now they're not real ridges, they're just printed on. But that's how you know it's a PlayStation game, aside from this. And that you know that it's complete, at least. This thing has nothing, but it still has the title on there, and it still has the back. So it was kind of deceiving at first, so I thought I bought an incomplete version, because the pictures on the eBay auction never showed the underside. So I actually picked up another copy that I knew was complete. As a result, I've got 2 complete copies of Evil Zone. So maybe I'll give that away or something like that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But to move on, like I said, from the developers who know vehicular combat comes critical death. This is a pretty interesting submarine combat game. So it's underwater. It's pretty much like Twisted Metal with submarines. And you got like a bunch of different ones right here. So it's pretty much aquatic, submariner combat from the folks who have made the Warhawk series as well as the Twisted Metal series, aka David Jaffe of current God of War fame. Currently he has the company Eat Sleep Dev. So then we have, last but not least, a Dreamcast title, Sega Rally Championship 2. I have a huge amount of love for the Sega Rally games. I'm a huge fan of the first one for the Saturn, and this is one of those games that my brother sold, and I've kind of been fighting to get back what I had lost after my brother Fernando sold the Saturn game. So there's that. This is a solid game, just like the first one. So, and actually, the last thing that I bought from Matt to review Shogo Mobile Armored Division was the strategy guide. So it's a nice, interesting little read. It's got a great arrangement. It's got like screen captures of like all the weapons and stuff. I remember really loving this game back in the day, but I'm kind of curious as to how it holds up nowadays. But that's for Matt to discern because he is the PC guy, so he'll be taking up the reins on this review. In fact, I want him to review all the PC stuff as where I review all the console-centric stuff, while still keeping in mind that PC stuff exists. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it for my latest acquisitions for January 5th, 2015. Be sure to check out the Solid State Gamer website. Stay tuned for my impending review of a Shadow Squadron for the Sega 32X. I'm really excited. I'm actually very sick right now. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's kind of made me feel a little sluggish. So I'll slowly but surely hammer out the review for Shadow Squadron, and hopefully you guys get a chance to check it out. And maybe it'll kind of push you guys to, get the game, a copy of the game for yourselves, because it's actually a really fantastic space combat sim that you wouldn't expect to exist on console, let alone a failed modular add-on for the Sega Genesis. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next weekly Mailbag series videos. As always, I'm John Rivera from the Solid State Gamer saying, stay gaming, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again.